In this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate the escape codes in Python. What are escape codes? How do we use them? How do we avoid them when we do our coding? For example, if you're creating a string and there's a bunch of text within that string, there may be instances where the output is not displayed correctly. So we'll take a look at what those are in terms of how to fix and make sure that Python prints the output as desired. So what is an escape code? In Python, as in most languages that evolved in a Unix environment, encoded string literals, the backslash has the magical power of an escape character. This means that a backslash isn't interpreted as a backslash, but as a signal that the next character is to be given a special interpretation. So typically on your keyboard, when we use a backslash, it would just enter a backslash on your Word document, or when you're giving a path to a file name, and so on. But in Python, when you use a backslash, Python interprets that as something special. Okay, so whatever follows that backslash, Python is going to act on that. Here are a few code types. For instance, the two backslashes essentially implies that Python treats it as a single backslash. Okay, this may be confusing, but once you get used to it, it's really simple. If you were to enter a single backslash with a quotation, Python would interpret that as a single quote. If you were to use a backslash and double quote, Python treats it as a double quotation within your text string. Similarly, backslash A, backslash B, F, N, R, T are some of the common ones that you may come across when you're programming in Python. For example, if you need to enter a tabbed text, you would enter backslash T. So anytime Python reads your text and it comes across backslash T, it would tab the text. Okay, so here are some basic few code types, important ones that we use on a regular basis. There are others as well that we'll take a look at a little later. Let's do some examples. For example, here's the first line that says my file name equals, and then a string, C:\, new project, /typenames.txt. Now in this instance, when Python interprets this, the \n, for instance, and recall \n is entering a new line. So Python gets confused and doesn't know what to do, so it thinks it's a new line, and therefore the \n that begins similarly with the new project was also interpreted as the new line character, and the \t in the typenames.txt was interpreted as a tab character. So for instance, let's see what happens when I type this variable here, file name, simple assignment statement, and I'm going to use my string. So I'm going to say C:\n, just a file path on your computer, for instance. New project /type names.txt. Okay, let's see what happens. When I hit the enter key, it takes it as a variable name. Now if I were to say print my file name, notice in this instance, right after C:, the \n was interpreted as a new line. So it's a new project. And similarly, notice there's a tab in between, right? This is a tab. So \t was interpreted as a tab. But what if you wanted to print the entire file path? And that's exactly what we mean by using escape codes in Python, where Python would make sure that it gives you the full path and not treat the \n or the \t as being a new line or a tabbed text. So to put a backslash into a string, we simply need to code 2 backslashes, that is escape character followed by a backslash. So here, for instance, if I were to use the same thing again, let me copy and paste it. Let me correct the N here. What if I were to use 2 backslashes before the word N? Okay, and hit enter, and let's see if I print my file name one more time. And at this time, what Python does, it treats the \n as not a new line, in fact, because we use 2 backslashes. Okay, so you need to understand that if you simply place a single backslash, Python is going to treat it as a new line. If you use 2 backslashes, Python is going to skip or escape the backslash. And we can do the same thing with the type or tab names .txt. So let's see what happens. Let me do this again. Use backslash here in my new project, and I'm going to enter backslash, a couple of backslashes right before the type names.txt. And now if I print my file name, and here the output is now the complete path. So there are no tabs anymore, and there are no new lines created by Python. And this is what we mean by using the escape codes. Let's do some more examples. Okay, these are pretty straightforward. Let's take a step forward in using escape codes. For instance, let's say I have a couple of variables, s equals, or let's say s6 equals, I'm just making this up, and I'm going to use the string called something like I contain \t, which means 1 tab after the word contain. And if I need multiple tabs, I can simply go /t again and /t again. So how about 3 tabs, right? So I'm going to say I contain 3, and then 3 tabs again, tabs. Close the parentheses here, and let's correct our text. So here I have S6. What happens when I say print S6? And notice it shows you that I contain, that's 1, 2, and 3 tabs, and then 1, 2, and then your 3rd tab. So \t is tab. You can use it multiple times. Let's do another one. How about S7 equals, all right, I'm going to show you, let's say I contain a tab, something vertical, a vertical tab, right? So it's vertical tab. Correct my string here. Okay, great. Hit enter and simply do print S7, and Python creates an output and creates a vertical tab, right? And it shows you by this symbol. So I contain a vertical tab if you were to use the \v as an escape code. Similarly, you can use the \t, v, a, b, or any of these escape code characters that I've shown you earlier in the previous slide. Or a few more examples before I end this lesson. Quickly, let's say I have another variable called s8 equals, and this time I'm going to use some example of I contain a backspace, right? So how about a backspace? So it's \b and a space. So this time when I do print S8, it's going to give me a symbol that says that I contain a backspace. So this way we can work with various escape codes. There's a whole list of them that you can take a look at. I've provided some of the important ones, the common ones, like backspace, new line, a form feed. And let's see if I can get back to the slide so I can show you the types of codes. So here's the \A, \B, F, N, R, and T. So based on your own requirement, you can practice using the escape codes while working with strings. And these are important because if you forget to place a double backslash, for example, Python is going to treat this as a new line. Okay, so be careful when you're working or typing your code. These are important. So practice with using few codes, and let's move to our next lesson.